In this video, we're going to have a look at marking out and manufacturing a dowel joint. We're going to use our working drawings here to take off sizes that we require to manufacture this. We're first of all going to check the thickness of our wood. Our thickness of the wood is measuring at 17mm, so we need to half that to get 8.5, so we know what size to put onto our marking gauge. We're going to loosen up the thumb screw for the marking gauge using our marking gauge jig here in our toolboxes and tighten it up there at 8.5mm, ensuring the spur is in the correct size for the marking gauge jig. We are now going to place our piece of wood into the vise, ensure it's securely attached, to allow us to scribe a line with the marking gauge across the end grain. We're now going to take our pencil and line this in. We're going to look at the 10mm from the working drawing now, so taking the 10mm to scribe across the next line with our marking gauge. So we're going to have to loosen up the thumb screw, take our steel rule on, ensuring the spur is lined up with the 10mm on the steel rule, and check that is correct. If we're just needing to adjust the marking gauge ever so slightly, we can tap it on the table very gently to adjust it till it's accurate and get the measurement that we require here, which is 10mm. We can now place our marking gauge onto the wood, scribing across the line here. This has created the section that we will then use on the pillar drill to drill our holes for the dowel joint. We're now going to have a look at marking the depth onto our dowel joint that we can now use for the pillar drill. So we're going to draw a straight line down with our tri-square and mark on 20mm. We're now going to set up the pillar drill, so ensuring that we have opened up the chuck with the chuck key, and then placing in our drill bit of 8mm and tightening with the chuck key, ready to drill. We're going to place our piece of wood into the machine vise, ensuring it is tight and secure. We're going to bring down the drill bit to the depth that we just marked out previously, changing the depth stop so the pillar drill won't go any deeper than the 20mm depth we just previously marked out. We're now going to line up our first hole with the machine off, ensure we have all our safety precautions on, ensure we've got our safety glasses on and hair tied up and all loose clothing away. We can now drill down into the piece of wood as part of the dowel joint. Ensure we drill all the way down until the depth stop is met. We now want to use our dowel pins and place them into the piece of wood we've just drilled, and set up a jig with our tri-square and use this to mark onto the other component for the dowel joint. We now want to have a look at the depth for the other dowel joint, 20mm again. So we want to take our tri-square and draw a straight line down. This can be anywhere along the component around the dowel joint section, and measure on 20mm, and we can use this to set our depth stop on the pillar drill again. We can set a depth stop here by placing our component into the machine vise and changing the depth stop so the handle won't go any further than the point it's meant to. We can now line up with the machine off where we want to drill, and then come in and drill our holes into the other component for the dowel joint. We can now remove the dowel pins and take two dowels and place them into one component, and then we can join the two components together to successfully create our dowel joint. We can now check this with our tri-square to ensure it is square.